test my technology capabilities and see if we can go now to San Francisco, where Shelby Clark, the founder of RelayRides, looks like he is. Shelby, can you hear us? You can?
Yeah, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
We hear you very clearly, yeah. Let me just give you a brief...
Sounds like video conferencing. Go ahead.
Hold that thought, because I'll give you a brief introduction. But I imagine what you're about to say is that you're making Paul happy by talking to us via video conference rather than being here, or something like that.
Wave of the future.
Sustainability strategists are starting to realize that selling access over ownership, or what they call collaborative consumption, could dramatically create a more efficient world. RelayRides has had, from what I understand, considerable success in the States, and I think you've had some announcements in the last couple of days about going nationwide. You've been invested in by General Motors. So it's an example of how big companies can also play in this disruptive trend. So Shelby, it's with great interest that we hand over to you.
Great. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great to be a part of this. Today we're talking about resource scarcity and resource efficiency. And I think that there are a lot of really interesting things that are going on at the macro level. But there are some interesting changes that you can drive at a consumer level that I think can drive a huge, dramatic impact. So one of the terms that was just mentioned, collaborative consumption, I think represents a major shift that we've seen recently in consumer behavior, where increasingly consumers are realizing that it doesn't make sense to own certain goods or services, and that in many cases it can be better just to access them. It's better economically in that you're only paying for what you use. It's better environmentally in that you can produce fewer goods that are more durable and can be shared among people. It's also been called the sharing economy, and I think that you're seeing this in a lot of seemingly different businesses that are sort of tied together through this sharing trend. So all around the world, Airbnb has become a global success. It's a peer-to-peer apartment sharing site. So sort of like a vacation home, but it's typically people's primary homes. And you can rent out your home while you're gone, or you can even rent out a room while you are home, or even your couch. People are sharing videos through Netflix. Car sharing has been around for a long time. Increasingly there are peer-to-peer rental sites where you can rent things, tools, high-end photography equipment, many different things. I think this shift represents a major improvement in consumer behavior. There's a lot of waste that's generated. So I think one of the classic examples of this is a power drill. So almost every household owns a power drill, but the average life of a power drill is 7 minutes. If you add up all the time it's used, from the time you buy it to the time you put it to rest, it's used for 7 minutes, and that's just incredibly inefficient use of resources. So these sharing businesses are expanding on the back of this trend and this idea. And I think that there's sort of three major trends that are really driving this, and why we're seeing the growth of the sharing economy right now. I think it was catalyzed in 2008 when we saw the global economic crisis. It was tough economic times, and people had to take a step back and look at what and how they were consuming. And sharing really represents a good way to cut your costs without really sacrificing too much. You're still able to get the benefit of what you need without actually owning it. In addition, technology improvements, I think, have really helped to facilitate the development of the industry. So, RelayRides provides electronic access to vehicles, and as these devices we put in the car become cheaper and easier to install, and also as we can drive technology partnerships, as I'll talk about in a little bit, it becomes easier and easier to share things. And also, the last thing is the proliferation of social networks. So, a lot of people are on Facebook or Twitter these days, and it's making it easier and easier to form connections with people online, and really being able to establish trust with people who you're meeting online. in fact, this is one of the things that I find most interesting about some of the new business models of some of these what's been called Web 2.0 companies, where you're actually forming connections online that drive an offline social impact, and really excited to leverage the power of that to better utilize the resources we have on our own streets. So to get a little bit more specific, moving away from just talking about the sharing economy, RelayRides was I founded about 3 years ago, and we launched about 2 years ago in Boston. And in December 2010, we raised some venture capital funding. In total, we've raised about $13 million. And we expanded to San Francisco in December 2010. I've been expanding in Boston and San Francisco. And as was mentioned, we actually launched today nationwide. So if you have any friends back in the United States, it'd be great if you could help us spread the word. Really excited about being able to move outside of just these two markets and be bringing the benefits of car sharing all the way across the country. And so some of the interesting things that we've noticed about car sharing are that it can really drive a couple of very positive benefits. So today we're talking about the economy, or about the environment. So we'll start there. But at a fundamental level, by being able to access an automobile, it makes it easier to live without one. And so studies over the past decade have shown that the average shared car takes 13 cars off the road. So I was a great example of this. I didn't buy a car for years, and it was because I was planning to buy a car, and I signed up for car sharing while I was looking for a good deal. And next thing I knew, a year had passed, and I never bought a car, and I didn't need to. So people either don't buy a car or they sell a car because their mobility needs are being met by car sharing. In addition, car share members drive less. It may seem counterintuitive that providing people access to a car is actually a good thing for reducing vehicle miles traveled, but it is. So basically, cars are very expensive to own but cheap to drive. And so whenever you can take cars from basically a fixed cost and make it into something variable, as you do with car sharing, people think twice before they drive. So studies have also shown that they walk more, they bike more, and they take public transit more. And so on average, they drive 40% less than their counterparts that do own cars. I think that there are these really strong environmental benefits, but underlying it are really compelling economic benefits as well. So for the average person, you save about $500 compared to car ownership every month by just paying for a car whenever you use it. And for car owners, they're making about, on average, $250 a month. I'm not sure that is in pounds, but it's a significant amount of money. And for me personally, I made $400 last month that completely offset all of my car costs. So my car payment, my insurance, my gas, everything. I think people, we're not forcing people to make a choice that isn't natural. I think people would make the right choice for the environment. But what we've really done is make the smart choice the environmental choice. It makes it a really easy thing for people to do. The last interesting thing that I'd like to talk about is how big companies can get involved and leverage some of these interesting consumer behaviors to actually grow their business. So car sharing, at first glance, it could seem like a major threat to the automotive sector. As people share cars, they buy fewer cars. At first I expected the automotive sector to really oppose what we were doing. Particularly if you look at other industries and look at what happened with innovation with the record labels and the TV networks. They've really tried to stifle innovation at every step. I didn't think it'd be any different with the automotive sector, but it really has been. Interestingly, 6 of the major car manufacturers have entered car sharing. The most significant entry is GM's partnership with RelayRides. So in the very near future, we're releasing a partnership with General Motors. We've tied in with their safety and security system OnStar so that any GM car owner can sign up and link their OnStar and their RelayRides accounts. And when a renter has that car reserved, they can just walk up and they can unlock their car with their mobile phone because we're integrated directly into the car's technology infrastructure. So I think GM took this something that could be a threat, and they realized that you can't force people to buy a car. What you can do is you can build relationships with them. And so down the road, if they do buy a car, they're more likely to buy a GM car. And that's exactly what we've done. So their goal is to get as many cars as possible in the RelayRides fleet to be GM, and really exposing those cars to consumers and get consumers loving those cars. So I think it's a really interesting example of an industry, and particularly a company, General Motors, embracing its own disruption and actually playing in it, helping to influence the conversation in a way that's positive for the growth of the company and also positive for the environment.